This is an excellent display here from Roxy. Very good job.
So an chain unending. Oh, unending gonna pop notification.
Wait, what? You ever seen a plane that big, Herbel?
Ok, haven't seen this one in a while. Ouh là là, baguette.
This is an excellent display here from Roxy. Very good job.
So an chain unending. Oh, unending gonna pop notification.
Wait, what? You ever seen a plane that big, Herbel?
Hello. Okay. Hopefully people can hear me now. Yeah, that looks better. Um, I am now gonna jump back into the Discord voice chat and introduce you to today's cast and crew. So yeah, I am Kerno King, and this is Team Wars Talks Week 10. Sorry. Um, yeah. And can if everyone can hear me? Can anyone hear chat? Chat. Do you want to? Can someone speak? It's good. Okay. They can hear you. They can hear me. That's something. Okay, I'm just sorting this out. Apologies, guys. I just got back from work. But yeah, we are here today. We're going to talk through Week 10's match reports, the meta analysis for the new meta, some predictions for playoffs, and the new box. As soon as we can hear everyone else. Right. Stand by. Okay, I think that should work. So yeah, today, yeah, that's much better. Today I'm joined by Herbel, Magikarp, Mastercards, and later, fingers crossed, Mythyard. So I'm just going to give everyone a brief chance to introduce themselves, starting with Herbel.
Hello guys, I'm Hans Peter alias Herbel, the laziest and most handsome player of Diffusion. Welcome everyone.
Thanks, Herbel. Magikarp?
That's iMagikarp to you. There's an I in front of it.
Apologies.
It's the most common mistake. It's okay. Coach of Smogon Duel Links. And I think I got asked here because I went ham this last week.
Thanks, Magikarp. And Mastercards?
Yeah, hello. So I'm Mastercard. I'm playing with Sunclan from the season 3, I think. I was coach at the season 3 when we won, and then I play sometimes for the team. That's it.
Great, thanks. And I'm sure Mythyard, when he is here, will introduce themselves. Okay, hopefully now the technical difficulties are past and we're going to get into everything for today. Please let me know in the chat if anyone's audio is too high or too low, and I will do my best to fix it. So yeah, like I said, we're going to start with the Week 10 match reports, and I think that it's probably the smartest to start with one where there are two of us present, so that is Diffusion against Abusement Park, Abusement Park being my team. So yeah, I'm going to go first to Herbal, of course, as he streaked in this match and secured Diffusion's playoff position while ruining any chances of APK making it. What were your plans for the week, and what would you say about the game in general, Herbal?
Well, I was pretty hyped about the game because two great team. I know most of the players on Abusement Park. I'm playing with them in other leagues, so it was a game with big pressure and high reward. I would say if you win, you get into playoffs. If you lose, you out. So yeah, we were prepared and we were preparing a lot for this war.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was almost like for both of us as we were both 5-4 going into this. It's almost like the playoffs started a week early. The winner was pretty much guaranteed, and the loser, the loser was guaranteed out. So it was definitely a high pressure game, and you performed. So let's talk about Triamids, because you won 4 games with the deck. So obviously you brought it as a Ritual Beast counter, which makes sense. Did you ever expect it to streak as it did?
No, I was not expecting it at all. I thought that I gonna win my one game when I gonna counter something like Desperado or Ritual Beast or even Cristrons, and I expected to lose pretty fast to any aggressive decks like Blackwing or Hero.
Yeah. Okay, well then I'm going to come in at my end and explain maybe in part why the streak was able to happen. I'm the owner of APK for anyone that doesn't know, and myself and the coach Temma discussed after my Ritual Beast got knocked out by Trimids what to send in. And Blackwings felt like the safest counter, but we were pretty sure that you would have Cristrons as your second deck. And we thought that we might be able to steal 2 cheap wins if Witchcrafter would successfully streak on Trimids, and then it could go on to streak even more. So, because the Witchcrafter matchup is pretty good against Cristrons. And we were right as well that your second deck was Crystron, but obviously Witchcrafter didn't do what we hoped it would, and you managed to win against it, and it lost a repeat as well. So I think that enabled it. What did you think of the matchup? Did you expect it to go that well?
Yes, honestly, I was understanding your thinking, and I thought the same, that you guys sent Witchcrafter because you knew I'm gonna play Crystron as well, so you can just kill both of my decks with Witchcrafter if it goes well. But we played the Triamid against Witchcrafter matchup a lot with Chuchu. Like, we were in voice chat and played the matchup, and it was so bad for Witchcrafter. You are just sitting here, you cannot swing into King Golem, you cannot do anything through the traps. You literally just waiting here for your Cosmic Cyclones and pray that you are leaving when you see it.
Yeah, obviously I think it's maybe a decision that we wouldn't make again. But if you look, then you'll see that Blackwings, which was our original set in, also took 2 chances to win. So who knows how much it would have made a difference it would have made in the end. But yeah, and then on your Crystron win, obviously this comes up as a DC win. But I understand your hand was pretty good, and you're pretty confident you'd have won that game regardless of the DC.
Yeah, we talked about it with Bounce, and I would most likely win that game because he would have to use his offerings to survive. Then he has no draw phase, and I have every resource I needed already.
Yeah,
It would be most win regardless.
That sounds, yeah. It was, being in there, the original hand, it does sound like you probably would have taken that one regardless. So I think it's fair to say that Cristrons would have won that game. So yeah, a real 5-2, and obviously you're putting yourselves into playoffs. So how did you go about preparing for this new meta then? Obviously the ban list hit last week, and it's the first time the meta's changed this much in probably about a year. So how did you, what did you do? Lots of scrims, lots of playtesting in tournaments? What was your formula for working out what decks were going to be the best?
Honestly, for the first scrim, we just memed, and everyone picked up the deck he wanted to test, and it went pretty badly. We got destroyed by Desperado and stuff like that. So for the war, we decided that every pair needs to have something against Desperado. We need to survive that. We expected like 3, even 4 from any team.
Yeah, I think Desperado is certainly a deck that is picking up and looking like the clear tier 1 deck, so that makes sense. We brought 2, I believe. One was behind a repeat, but yeah, not maybe the 4 or 5 that could have been brought. So that's interesting, and interesting to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think that after another, so obviously playoffs start next week, do you think that the meta is going to have developed any further in the next week? People refine what decks they're going to play?
Yes. I think it will it won't be any more Desperado focused at all because Noble Knights got really popular as well, and they are pretty good against Desperado. And I think people sleep on Witchcrafter, especially now with the new card with what we get with the level up reward from, I don't know the name of the guy, but it's a pretty nice mill card. I think Witchcrafter are gonna be also really good for this next week.
Yeah, I don't know his name. I think it's Axel, but is it something walled? And it mills 3 cards.
Axel Brody.
Yeah, that's the one. Cool. Okay, yeah, well, stay on the line, Herbal, because we'll definitely come back to you in the meta discussion in a minute, but let's move through some of these other match reports. So for those of you that don't know, this was week 10, so the final week of the regular season. It's after this week that we decide the top 12 teams that go into the playoffs. So this was a pretty big week. And this was the biggest game of all, and for reasons that I cannot quite explain, we don't have anyone from either team in the chat today. But yeah, Phoenix started the matchup 6-3, and Pharaohs were 5-4. Both teams had a chance to make playoffs. Now, as it worked out, Pharaohs did win to put themselves on 6-4 as well, but they needed a 10-7 or better win to make playoffs, and they only managed to win 10-8. So Phoenix, by the skin of their teeth, made it through. So I just want to invite anyone who's on the call now to talk about anything interesting they see here. I think that one interesting thing that's been pointed out to me is that Phoenix brought 4 heroes, or certainly 3 heroes. 3 heroes, and only managed to win 1 game with them. What do you think about heroes in this meta? Anyone?
Honestly, I was discussing this game with Geno, so I can actually talk a lot about this game. And it was really interesting for me as well that they brought 4 heroes. We were not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
The logic behind hero is that you might counter Blue Eyes, you might counter Noble Knights, and get a 50-50 against the other suck decks. They really believed in the deck, I guess.
Yeah. So for some added context for anyone that didn't know in why they might have believed in the deck, we actually scrimmed Phoenix in the week in preparation for the Diffusion match, and we were, I believe, 9-5 up when Heroes came in, and they won 10-9. So I think that might have given them some extra belief in Heroes. And I think I'm right in saying that someone did streak with Heroes this week, but yeah, it obviously didn't work out for them. But they managed to get enough wins thanks to some good performances from Blue Eyes to make it for the playoffs. So even though they lost the game, they're still in it. So good luck for Phoenix in the coming weeks. Hopefully it works out for you. And unlucky for Pharaohs, really, really unlucky to miss out by such a small margin, even after winning the game. Pharaohs obviously a great team and a real legacy team of Team Wars, and Cubio plays for them is pretty high up on the MVP stats for this season. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be back next season. Lost Tribe v Claw Clan. So just so everyone knows, I'm not doing every single match report this week because some matches were more relevant than others, and I got here late, so I had to cut a couple. So I apologise if your team isn't involved, but I thought Lost Tribe was one that was worth putting in because if they got their win, then there was a chance that they made playoffs still this week after a very strong start to the season. But unfortunately, it didn't work out, and Claw Clan managed to get the win here. I believe Claw Clan are in the playoffs, so congratulations for them. But again, anyone wants to make any comments on the megaliths that Lost Tribe decided to start with, then feel free.
In my opinion, that the Lost Tribe needed a 10-2 victory to manage to get into the playoff. They knew that, so they needed to get the first deck that might surprise the opponent, that can streak, and maybe the opponent has no answer to it. If you would just play a Desperado, you might get to win early, but your opponent is definitely ready for it, so you're gonna counter it. So I think that Megalith first deck made more sense than it looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And I think an interesting thing about Megaliths is for anyone that saw first place Goblin in the most recent KC Cup Crucius talk, Megaliths is a great deck for people that don't read against people that don't read. Sorry, so because it's not a common deck, so yeah, I can definitely see that it would have an element of surprise. It just obviously didn't work out, and once they lost the first two, obviously winning 10 games in a row is a pretty tough one, but they did well for a team that, you know, this is Lost Tribe's first season. I'm sure 5-5 is very good. Personally, my first season went much worse than that. So, yeah, I'm sure they'll be back again next season to try and make it. But for this season, that's the end for them. Okay, I'm just skipping past that and that right now because the players
So
that
Megalith is not very effective because you play with all the team in the voice chat. So there is some players who knows how to play against it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's when you don't know how to play, when you know how to play against it. I don't think
Yeah,
it's
you can
as
ask
good a deck.
your mates.
Yeah. Anyway, I just skipped over those two match reports because we were waiting for the guests to arrive to talk about their performances.
Oof.
But we have got here Sun Clan versus Forbidden Memories, and obviously Mastercard is in the chat, and yeah, it's
Yep.
fair to say he did quite well. Let's count that in my head now quickly. 7-win streak with Cyber Dragon to, yeah. I mean, Sun Clan's position was all but confirmed in the playoffs, but
Yeah.
a pretty big statement of intent beating Forbidden Memories, who managed to top their group. So, yeah, Mastercard, Cyber Dragon, talk us through how were the hands? Were they nice?
Can you repeat?
Sorry, talk us through Cyber Dragon. Were you drawing some nice hands?
Oh, I don't know what happened, bro. I just drew very well. I don't know how. I will not lie. I didn't train the deck from a long time. Even in the week, I only trained with my second deck. I didn't train with Cyber Dragon because I don't need to train. I just just draw core and bust. Just draw core and you win.
Yeah.
I don't know how I drew so well.
Yeah, so some interesting wins there. If you want to talk us through any, was there a highlight in those 7 wins? One game that you were like, how on earth did I win that? I saw you beat Ritual Beast twice.
Yeah, the game against Ritual Beasts were interesting. The second one, I think, because the first one I just OTK. I think I don't remember. Yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, for sure.
But in fact, I didn't won 7 in the row. I won 5 in the row. Then I lost against Desperado, but they missed. Mazarek forgot to screenshot, I think. So they got the Q loss. The Q loss, yeah.
Very tough for teams, but obviously for those that don't know, there is a new screenshot rule in place for all competitors, and the reason for that is that there is a potential cheating tool in the game at the moment, and screenshots eliminate the ability to do that. So it might be annoying to send screenshots, and I personally was telling my team after every single game, make sure you take a screenshot straight away. But it's important that there is something in place, even if it does lead to the occasional unfortunate loss as it did there. But obviously that worked out well for you.
Yeah, but I was playing on Steam, so I just needed to screen share. That's it.
Yeah.
And a little fun fact: my mate Bruno said I will go undefeated just before I come in the room. You can see it in the Team Wars Talk chat.
Yeah. Cool.
Can
It's
you add
okay.
it on the stream?
Yeah. 1 second. Let's see if I can add it on the screen. It's so yeah, this is from Bruno, and it says it's okay. Mastercards is the secret gem. He's gonna go undefeated. Yeah, because at this point you were 6-3 down.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not gonna be able to add it to the screen now. It will take me too long, and I will bore everyone.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
My
No problem.
inability to use technology, but yeah, still it was a good performance. So how did Sun Clan prepare for this week then? Obviously as we've already talked with Herbel, the format's changed. How did you approach working out what the best decks were?
Ruined the chat. We trained a lot during all the week. I played mostly with what's the name of the deck? Fuck, I don't remember. I'm sorry for the noises. Wait a second.
It's okay. Yeah, we're in the chat. That Mastercards has opened under 1,000 packs.
No, it's not true, but yeah, I'm mostly free to play. I only paid in the deck with the money I earned from playing tourneys.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say I'm free to play.
Yeah.
But during the week I only trained with Triamids. I didn't play Cyber Dragon, but we were prepared for the match. We knew we needed to counter Christians and Desperado. No, Herbes and Desperado, because for me it's the two best decks. So we were prepared for this.
Yeah. So interesting. You brought one Trimid as the first deck, and you say that you also had a Trimid as your second deck.
Yeah, Trimid was my second deck.
Okay. So you believe in that. You believe that's got the matchups against the two best decks in the format then.
Yeah. Because if I'm countered with against Cyber Dragon, then if they send Ritual Beast, I can counter it with Triamids. So I was prepared for the counter.
That makes sense. And yeah, have you obviously now you're back? Now you're in playoffs. I think it's Sun Clan's first season. They missed off last season in the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah, we missed last season. I think we were in playoff in the season 6. I don't remember,
yeah.
5 or 6.
So yeah, does it feel good to be back in playoffs? Obviously, at Sun Clan, a former team was winner, so pretty historic team.
Yeah, but another fun fact: we were in the season 4 and 5, we were 13 in the 13th place to make playoff. So just it was just bad luck, a little bit of bad luck in the past season.
Yeah, but you're there now, and yeah, I'm sure you're going to be up in all your practice for the next week. But yeah, thanks. Like I said to Herbel, stay on the line because we will be talking about analysis in a minute. But I'm going to move on to the next match report. No, I'm not, because as far as I'm aware, iMagikarp is still not available yet, but Mithyard has missed his opportunity to talk about his 10-1 streak, so I'm going to talk about it for him. Yeah, this is an interesting match because, as you'll see, there are 3 DQ wins in there. I don't quite know the history behind this, but I just know that their final player did not show up, so yeah. I don't want to steal your thunder too much, Mithyard, but I think that could be argued as a 7-1, not a not a 10-1. But it was very interesting that you brought 2 Noble Knights, because I know there's quite a lot of debate around which skill to use between balance and my monster cards. So instead of working out which one was best, you just took both, which I can respect. Maybe that you started off with balance shows that you think that one's slightly better, but I don't know. Does anyone have any opinions on which skill should be run on Noble Knights, balance or my monster card?
I think no one know yet that which one is the better. Some say that it's balance, some say it's my monster cards, and the other people just jumping between the skills like every 10th game.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that balance is the one that started off, everyone was like, okay, balance is good, but then some of the top players started playing my monster cards in tournaments and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So balance, I think you have to run, if you run 6 of anything, then it's guaranteed in your hand for a 20 card deck, and then balance just means that you get vaguely balanced hands, is the easiest way to explain it. My monster cards gives you a higher chance of opening monsters. You play, I think it's 5 different monsters, or maybe it's even 6. But yeah, the skill has been nerfed somewhat in the past year, so that I think there's something like an 80% chance of getting a monster in your first card and a 40 in your second card, and then the others uninfluenced. I don't know how official those statistics are. It's just what I've been told in the past. So interesting. They're both consistency skills, but Noble Knights going 10-1 and proving that it's a deck to be reckoned with, and a deck that I'm sure we'll see more of in the next week. Okay. I'm running out of ways. Okay, no, here's what I'm going to do. Before we go on to the meta-analysis, which is the final part where I want everyone available, I am going to take us through the playoff bracket for this season. And yeah, so for those that do not know, the top 2 from each of the 4 divisions qualify, and then there are 4 wildcard positions for the 4 highest performing teams not in the top 2. But teams that win their division get a bye in the first week of playoffs. They get a straight ticket to quarterfinals. So those are Rookies, Switcheroo, Bricks and Potatoes, and Forbidden Memories. So they can all sit back, kick back, and yeah, try and have a week working out the meta without any pressure. Meanwhile, the other 8 teams that made the playoffs, yeah, they're playing this week, so some very exciting games to check out. So those games for this week are Garuda v BZ, Sun Clan v Diffusion, Claw Clan v Smogon Duel Links, and Tier 0 versus Phoenix. Any games there? Okay, so Herbel and Mastercards are both obviously playing on the opposite sides for the Sun Clan and Diffusion. We'll avoid the trash talk for now. What game are you most looking forward to out of those 3 games, guys? You can't call your own.
I'm the most excited about 0 against Phoenix because I like really both teams.
Yeah.
And I also think that Tier 0 is a big favorite for the whole thing. It's gonna be really interesting how can Phoenix take on them.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Phoenix coming off the back of that loss. But I think in a way, losing isn't always the worst thing, because it definitely focuses the mind for the previous week, and you have to accept that when you're losing, you have to practice. You can't sort of rest and feel confident. So maybe that means that they'll work hard for this one and get a positive result. Yeah, I have to say that, yeah, that is an exciting one. But obviously, Sun Clan Diffusion is the biggest match this week. So I hope you guys deliver.
Yeah, let's go no against Row starter.
But yeah, that is the bracket. Okay, so Herbal going out there and suggesting that Tier 0 might be one of the favourites. Mastercards, apart from Sun Clan itself, who do you expect to win this season?
This season?
Yeah. Can't say yourself.
Yeah. I think Tier 0.
Tier 0, okay. In chat, anyone in chat as well, feel free to put your predictions for the final.
Tier 0 or FM?
Tier 0 or FM? Okay,
Yeah,
so.
that's why I want Phoenix to beat them both.
Okay, those are the teams you're scared of the most. Okay, FM and Switcheroo both getting votes in the chat. That's interesting. Yeah, it's going to be a real close one, I would say. Lots of good teams left in, lots of top players left in. So I'm gonna break the mold a little bit and say that I think that Bricks and Potatoes have got a pretty good chance this season. So I wouldn't sleep on them. And Rookies have had an incredible season themselves, going 9-1, previous finalists. So there are definitely some tough matches ahead for whoever wins it. Yeah. 4 out of 12 teams have won Team Wars. That's a really interesting stat from Jano. Thank you.
Yep. So Sen Clan, Brick and Potatoes, Phoenix, and
Smogon Duel Links.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Smogon.
So
Diffusion, of course.
Hey, I'm back, by the way.
okay, you're back. Cool. I can stop trying to waste time somehow now, and I can go back to your report. But yeah, interesting predictions there. Okay, but Magikarp, I'll just ask you before we go to your match report. You're not allowed to pick yourself. Who do you think's winning this season?
I'm not allowed to pick Smogon Duel Links?
No. Besides yourself, who do you think? Who do you expect to face in the final?
The final? Well, I don't know. I think the winner is going to come out of our bracket. I'll say that. My division has 4 teams in, and they're all on the same side of the bracket.
Wow.
We'll go with. It's hard to go against the super team of BNP, but we're big fans of Tier 0, so let's go Tier 0.
Okay, as obviously I don't think you heard this, but that's every single person in the chat apart from me that said Tier 0 now. So
no kidding. No, I didn't. I was deafened. So
no, yeah, everyone seems to think Tier 0. I went with Bricks, but I also think that Rookies are a pretty formidable opponent. I believe Rookies were the finalists when the season that you won.
Correct. We did face Rookies in the finals in season 4.
Oh, it's a potential. That could be another final. That would be pretty crazy if something like that were to happen. Okay. Match reports. Let's find your match report. There we go. Okay, and yeah, this was the hero streak that I knew happened, but I couldn't remember who. Okay, yeah, just a couple of questions for this one. Obviously, at the start of the week, the new ban list hits. What are your first steps? How did you start preparation for this match?
So we're pretty familiar at adjusting to brand new formats. So when we won in season 4, we were in mid-season playing the Kawaki format, and there's basically this Tier 0 deck, and there wasn't much else. And then 6 Sams came at the same season. It got another Tier 0 deck, obviously, after the Kawaki. And then a ban list hit immediately after that, and that's the playoffs. So we were pretty used to preparing for a quick turnaround on a do or die situation, because we basically still needed to win to get in, and then if we could get enough round differential, we could maybe up our standing, and potentially even, depending on how it lays out, we actually had a shot at second in our division, which would have been pretty. Yeah, so we basically spent a lot of time in dual rooms playing each other, talking through matchups, thinking what's good, paying attention to the meta, but doing personal testing has been pretty big key for us. We didn't do any scrims or like that.
That's interesting. That's something I'm going to pick up on, because you're the first team that's come on here that said you don't really scrim. Is that something that you just didn't do this week, or do you never really scrim? You always prefer the room testing?
So we scrim occasionally, usually at the beginning of the year, especially if we're taking a break. Like we took a couple of scrims this year because we took last season off,
Yeah.
just to get back into form a little bit. But we're Pokemon players, and we know the value of information. And coming from the VGC world, we know how to hide information and try to research the best team, best for Yu-Gi-Oh, the best decks, the best techs that we possibly could. And so we basically do a lot of infighting, a lot of yelling at each other in love, because we're one big family. We literally know everybody on our team because we've traveled and met each other at Pokemon.
Yeah.
So like we get in duel rooms and we tear each other apart, and try to just counter each other, and push each other to build a deck as best as possible.
Yeah, well, it definitely worked, especially in the end of the season. So, yeah, so for those that don't know, just before we get into this specific match, Smogon Duel Links started the end of week 7, 3-4, with some pretty unhelpful round differentiation.
Bad.
Yeah, let's go with bad. Let's just say it straight.
Yeah.
And it looked like a pretty tall order. I think pretty much everyone had written you off as any hope to make the playoffs, but you did it. Did you believe yourselves that you could do it? Was there any real, did you? Obviously, you knew it was a hard task, but did you think, oh no, if everything goes right, we genuinely can, or were you really shocked that it turned in the way that it did?
We literally had no doubts. So honestly, this reminded us a lot of season 4. We had to, in season 4, basically start our playoffs in week like 7 or 8. Basically, we couldn't lose, and we knew going into week 7 that this was our playoffs, and we really, really, really went to work.
Yeah.
Came up with a really solid strategy before the ban list. People make fun of us for it, but we went pretty hard on Karakuri, and it got us pretty far versus a lot of really tough opponents. And then the 10-1 last week was pretty intense. So
Yeah.
and I still feel to this day like our builds of Karakuri looked a little bit different than everybody else's, and our understanding of it was a little bit different than else's based off of our testing and based off of the work that primarily that myself and Blara Jean put on Karakuri testing through Casey Cups, in dual rooms in general. So, and point rooms. We do a lot of point rooms too. You can see some of our names pop up on point room standings too. So we find those helpful. So.
Yeah. So personally, I was one of those teams that you brushed aside in the final 3 weeks with Karakuri, and yeah, I think it's fair to say that everyone, or most teams certainly appreciated the value of Karakuri, but you did have slightly different builds that maybe caught us out. Lots of different tech spaces with those 7 traps, but yeah, obviously, I think you definitely proved this week that it wasn't just Karakuris that managed to carry you through. You really did get to grips with everything, and obviously a nice 10-5 win, which we will now go into a little bit more. So yeah, I pointed out at the start that Phoenix also brought heroes, and it didn't work well for them. It went 1-3. It went really well for you though. So do you want to talk about heroes?
Yeah. So we knew I was leading Master of Destiny Desperado basically most of the week. We just couldn't figure out a pairing for it, and I had a different pair in mind. And then 8 a.m. The day of the match, 3 hours before our match, I said, "You know what, guys? I have this feeling. I used Hero in the last KC Cup primarily. I think it's the call." Looking at how the meta was developing, we saw signs of Shiranui coming up. We saw signs of Witchcrafter, which you're like, Witchcrafter? Heroes sucks versus Witchcrafter. Well, not the current builds with Bring It. where we can basically get searchable plasma. I mean, this was just literally a me call. We were fine with me using one of basically 3 decks in the back, and I won't reveal the playoffs, but
Yeah.
but then I was just like, I think with how the meta is shaping up, I need to make this call. And honestly, we start off with the Desperado mirror. I revealed off a fancy tech in Card Trooper, which was really good. It got me a +2 in game 1. It milled a Desperado and attacked a Cry Rule, and Cry Rule popped it, so I got a draw off of that as well. And then they repeated, and I got marginally unlucky in that repeat, and I misplayed a couple of times looking back on it. And then I got lucky with Hero, because Desperado versus Hero is awful, like so bad. And going into this matchup, we knew the Immortals had not had a great year, and there was a non-zero chance that they wouldn't have been preparing as hard as we were. So we looked at the previous matches and just looked at what decks they had and how those old decks were evolving in the current meta. So we were expecting Shiranui, Crystron, Witchcrafters out of them. But they repeated the Desperado, so I couldn't repeat my Desperado, and I would have if I lost the Desperado mirror probably, just because Hero into it is awful. But then he kind of drew bad, and I drew pretty broken to be able to basically end that game really fast. And then I think what happened here is they didn't show their prep. In Witchcrafter, which we were fine with. Especially with the Bring It versions, I was able to basically summon Plasma, and I think like 6 of these games that I won or something like that, to basically just rock their world. And for some reason they saved Desperado for the end to finally beat, which was wild to me. But so part of it was a big meta call, and looking at their deck selection, there wasn't a lot of counters there other than Desperado, and we thought maybe they just didn't want to save the best deck. They didn't want to blow the best deck early, because then we could counter it, which we obviously could have. So I think there was a little bit of over strategy by them and a little bit of under preparation, but also a solid meta call and some pretty good plays, I think, out of the heroes.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely did its role there with Bring. So yeah, Witchcrafter didn't work though. Witchcrafter, do you think that you're still confident that's the best Desperado counter, and it's just on the day that you had to repeat it, or
Nope,
yeah.
we just didn't want to reveal stuff.
That's fair enough. That is fair enough. Okay. I will speak a little bit on that then and say that I think Desperado is quite a hard deck to counter, because even if you are running the counter, you can lose a couple of unlucky coin flips and then you're still going to lose the game. So, but I completely accept and be in the same position as you if we have playoffs. Still to think about, I would not be revealing my personal meta preferences. So yeah, how are you feeling the playoffs now? Then, obviously, like you said, you took some time off, and now you're back for it. You hyped? Have you got? Do you think the meta is going to develop even more now? Are you pretty confident you've got a grip on it?
So we're following it really closely. I think it's going to be really fun. I like the meta personally, from a coach perspective. I think we're pretty well built from our lineups perspective, and our team perspective for the meta that's coming. We definitely think Desperado is a force to be reckoned with. So I will concur with your thoughts on that. It is a good deck, and it's, there's like the misjudge aspect, right? Like it's just like, all right, they start hitting those 25%ers or twin barrel after a couple of aces, and then you win the 50-50, and it's just like, yeah, this deck is scary. And it's got OTK potential with Machinas and all of that, and Buddy Force is the next level card for it. that helps a lot of matchups that in the past we were kind of reviewing like past matchups. I'm like, okay, yeah, this fixes a lot of their bad matchups because they can just summon Desperado without the battle step part. You know, so yeah, I think that's a really good deck. There's cool decks emerging. Noble Knights are cool. Witchcrafter's got a new card. I'm sure you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a lot coming, and then the new box. I don't know. Are we gonna get onto the new box, or have you talked about
I
the new box yet?
think we'll have 10 or 15 minutes at the end to just to briefly touch on the new
Okay.
box. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for sure. Anyway, yeah, congratulations on the win and overcoming a pretty insurmountable round deficit at the towards the end of the season there. And good luck for playoffs. But yeah, we're now gonna bring everyone back in and have a brief look at the meta analysis. So I'm gonna get rid of these match reports. And I'm just going to do a quick summary of the general picture. So I think one thing that's interesting is that, and was obviously going to happen, is that the most played deck this time is Desperado, and then there's a massive jump down to Cyber Dragon. The most played decks were much more. It was much clearer Karakuri beforehand last season, in the last meta. So this is probably just a sign that people are still coming to terms with the meta and exactly what it is. And I imagine this will shift quite a lot again next week. But yeah, Desperados with the most played deck and a pretty solid 55% win rate, or 56.6 when you don't count mirrors. So yeah, I think one thing that's clear with Desperado is that it wins its good matchups quite well. And then its bad matchups, it can just win the coin flips. It's good matchups, it doesn't even need to win all the coin flips to win them, so it's not even wholly reliant on luck. So yeah, definitely a force to be reckoned with. And then Cyber Dragon with a 64.3% win rate. Herbel, I know that Drizzle's on your team is a pretty big Cyber Dragon player. Can you explain the 64% win rate for this one?
No, I cannot. There is no explanation why it did this well. The deck is not good. I think teams were just not prepared.
Well, I think it was somewhat helped by the 7 wins that Mastercard's got.
This is just the luck.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the win rate percentage would look like if that
Yeah.
were taken out, but I do not think it would be as high.
I don't understand too.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth noting that even though 42 games sounds like a massive sample size, it really isn't a big sample size. And yeah, I would say that a good example of that is Magician Girls in the previous meta had a 55% win rate one week, and then the next week it went down to 44%. So the deviation
Okay.
from week to week can be pretty ginormous. So maybe Cyber Dragon isn't
Yeah.
quite as good as that suggests, but yeah, the deck can definitely sack. We all know that, don't we?
Yeah, because it depends on the teams. Depends on the teams and on the luck, so
Yeah, okay.
it's not really.
So one that anyone can offer their thoughts here, but personally I am devastated by, is that one deck that everyone expected to perform but did not was Ritual Beasts, with only a 36.8% win rate when you take out the mirrors. The one game that I won was the mirror. I used Ritual Beast myself and went 1-1. Any thoughts as to why that is? Why Ritual Beast isn't performing?
Yeah, so I
Hopeful
have a thought.
consistency.
Well,
I have a thought real
let
quick on
Magikarp go
this.
first.
I think Winda had a target on her back this week. I know a lot of big players, and I know had talked about Winda just as a random tech card, and there was a big tournament where Goiki teched Winda, and I think just Winda had a lot of targets on its back, and so people were trying to play consciously of it. Ritual Beasts obviously have the Elder Hawk combo, but like their fallback is Winda. So I think people were just overly prepared for Winda this week in like their extra decks and their techs. And I think Tri-Mid's usage kind of doesn't help them either.
Yeah.
So there was a lot, and I think it hurt the deck this week because of the target. And with an unknown meta, a lot of people were just preparing for things that they knew rather than the things that they didn't know. And Ritual Beast is a known.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I do think that it made a difference that if you look at Blue Eyes, Witchcrafters, and Triamids are all pretty big Ritual Beast counters, and they were all played in reasonably high numbers. So I do think it's worth noting that even though Ritual Beast is a good deck, it definitely has some hard counters out there. And yeah, whichever one you're using, they're all pretty good at beating Ritual Beasts. So
I'm not sure about the Noble Knights countering Ritual Beast.
I didn't say Noble Knights. I think it's the other way around. I said Blue Eyes, Witchcrafters, and Triamid. I don't think Noble Knights does.
Sorry,
I think
sorry.
It's the other way around. I think that Ritual Beasts probably do counter Noble Knights, along with Cristrons and Cyber Dragon. And then I would say Desperado and Blackwings are a bit more coin flippy. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said before, small sample sizes. So let's see what happens as the week goes on. But also, Ritual Beasts are struggling in the side deck format right now because of a card named Poisonous Winds. So we could see them drop off if they have another bad week. And yeah, maybe there'll be a different deck as the 10th deck on the meta-analysis. I'm not sure the meta-analysis continues in playoffs because I don't think there's a large enough sample size. I'm sure Zarex or Hezi or someone in the chat will confirm or deny that. But yeah, this might be the last look we get at the meta. So yeah, and just for an explanation, because I forgot this last time entirely, there are two tables for the meta-analysis. There's this one here, which just includes the top 10 decks and who against the top 10 decks. And then there is this, which is all of the decks that were used. So Shiranui, Fun Dragon, Goki, Lunar Lights, Dragunity, Weather Painters, Infernity, Karakuri, Vendregs, and Megalith all left out because they weren't played big enough. There's any decks in there that anyone expects to creep up into that top 10 from next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say Shiranui is adapting.
Maybe Thunder, but I don't see any other decks.
Yeah, and I think Goiki is more of a side deck tournament type of deck than a team deck. And they got, I think Shiranui is still, I think Sun used it today in a Japanese tournament to like top 4. So I think the Endless Trap Hill cat is out of the bag. But then Thunder Dragon continually tiered on the other website. So I don't understand necessarily what that is, but maybe somebody knows something I don't or we don't. So maybe Thunder Dragon, maybe Shiranui.
I think it will depend on tournaments results. I think.
Yeah, to an extent, though, it has to be remembered that obviously the format is very different in Team Wars than it is to tournaments. But yeah, I think that people maybe when something does well in a tournament, they do look at it and think, oh, maybe we should try this. But yeah, I'm definitely with Magikarp. I ended up playing against a lot of Fun Dragon last week, and I was not convinced by it at all. So interesting to see if it does see any more play, and I didn't know about it being tiered on other websites, but yeah, let's see if anyone uses it come next week. I would be slightly surprised. Big shout out to Karakuri that was used 3 times. I would love to know if anyone knows which team it was that used Karakuri, because that has obviously...
I watched that match.
Oh, what was it then?
I watched that match. I don't remember the team, but I know like the build. It was the It was the living fossil build.
Oh
Which
yeah,
was
yeah, okay,
crazy.
okay.
Yeah, it was the powerful dragon living fossil combo. So it was pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. So, yeah, yeah, that's how much the ban list hit Karakuri for those that were wondering what sort of impact it would have. It went from having over 100 games to having 3. Its win rate was still pretty high though, 66%. So,
Okay. It's only 3 games.
but yeah, I'm not sure we can read into that one too much. But props for Death Row. Thanks, Willipino. Yeah, Death Row with Dueling. Oh, okay. About 5 people told me that before, but Willie's was the one that I saw first. So yeah, cool. That's most of what I've got to say on the meta-analysis. But coming into the new week, obviously there's a box that's we've had leaked today, and tomorrow I believe is the day we are getting it. That any cards in there that people think are going to be a big shake-up for the meta, or indeed any cards from the Axel event that people think are going to shake up the meta. I know we've touched upon the level 45 rank up, level up reward as potentially for Witchcrafters, but is there anything else that anyone sees?
Fire King
I think
can be a card that we can look for. And Fire Kings overall, but that's the only card I see from the
Yeah.
new box.
It's played in Witchcraft.
I think what I'm most hopeful with the new box and the new cards coming out is I'm hoping that the 500 gems we get will not expire before the next box.
Okay, not too keen. Well, I think that I've forgotten its exact name, but it's something like Fire King Aviator.
That one's okay.
I think that looks like maybe it's a bit late, but it certainly looks like a card. Effect negation is not to be slept on. So yeah, just slapping that down on the board turn 1 is gonna be a pain for some decks, but whether it adapts to a Team Wars meta or not remains to be seen. So yeah, I'm gonna go through each one of you and skip or buy is gonna be the question. So Herbal, skip or buy this box?
Skip.
Maggie, I think you already answered, but do you want to confirm skip or buy?
That's a hard pass on me, dude.
That's a hard pass. Master, basically a free-to-play player in your own words. Skip or buy?
Skip.
Skip. Okay. Wow.
Skip for me.
The committee have spoken, guys. Skip the box. Skip the box. There will probably be a new one coming out around New Year's, and that'll be a main one. So there's a chance that could have some impact, but it looks like they've decided Noble Knights will be enough in terms of a meta shake-up after the list. So yeah.
I want to add that there probably is going to be a selection box too, maybe in January. That's historically a time that selection boxes come out. So potentially a box plus a selection box. Save your gems.
Yeah, and selection boxes historically have got a couple of good cards to make everyone buy them. So we will see what comes from them. I don't know what I'd want from the past year's worth of boxes in a selection box though. So I don't think they've printed amazing cards in the past year. So we'll see. Or if they have, they've nerfed them already.
Yeah, they'll throw Merchant in or something.
Yeah, Merchant into 1. Who knows? Right, there was one more thing that I want to get up and show everyone. I've just found out unhelpfully, but I haven't added it yet, so I'm grabbing it now. But that is the MVP stats for this season. Hopefully.
This is my favorite stat of this season.
Yeah, so hopefully everyone can see that now. Get rid of the error analysis. Sorry, complete mess on the screen, but there we go. And yeah, it's Mo1's man. And just so everyone knows, this doesn't run into playoffs. This is a standalone from week 1 to 10 to make it fair, so everyone has the same opportunities. Sperific. Yeah, you can speak on his behalf, Magikarp. How do you think he did it? How 32 and 14?
He's a system player. He got put in good positions. He put the work in. He learned the decks that we needed him to learn, and he just perfected them as much as he could. And I'm going to just point out in our matchup, we got Sperific and Ma in the same matchup in playoffs. So there's the third and first in the same matchup. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
He puts in the work. I mean, he's a great Pokemon player too. So he's just a really good strategist, and he understands stuff. He's easy to coach. He's easy to teach. To show, and he's an awesome dude, and he listens.
Was he?
And...
Sorry, excuse my lack of Team Wars history knowledge. Was Sperific a player when you last won, or is he a newer pickup?
No, he's a new up. We have quite a bit of a different roster and a bit of a different active player base than I mean, we still have the same core that we definitely use to streak through the playoffs and win. But getting some new mainstays has been really helpful and useful with different roles on the team. And then every role on our team is very important, even if they aren't playing. Because like that stretch where we were going crazy, we used 5 people, but with the scout team providing us lots of help and lots of practice duels, so everybody was playing a big role. So yeah, he was not on that season 14.
Well, sounds like a bit of a team effort, and he was the one that got to reap the rewards. But obviously, you're still in playoffs, so yeah, helped each other out, and that is very exciting. Sperific versus Ma, bit of a showdown. And then we can talk about second place, who just missed out and whose journey has unfortunately ended for Team Wars this season. It's Cubio, who's been up at the top for a long time. So yeah, as I'm sure most players know or feel, it's pretty impressive to have even a slightly better than average record in a counter-based format. I personally have never managed it in a season to go more than even, and I've had 4 goes now. So yeah, all of these players did exceptionally well. But yeah, particularly the top rows, those at the front. And most of them are still in playoffs, though we've said goodbye to Grimjow, to Fake Zix, and Hisoka. But yeah, Meds on Phoenix, doing very well there, carrying them a little bit. Gift for Bricks and Potatoes, they've got some key men. Who... You're opening up. Who is the worst person to find out you're about to play against that's left in the playoffs, guys? Herbel, start with you. Who do you least want to face?
Definitely Uno.
Definitely Uno. Okay. Yeah. 4.8 being the highest win per match rate of any of the players here. So Uno, a scary one. What about you, iMagi?
Gift.
Yeah, Gift second in the most recent KC Cup. Won the KCGT first qualifying round, KC Cup. So yeah, formidable player for sure. Mastercards?
I will say Zeta.
Zeta, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are of course many big names that did not make this list. I'm sure no one fancies playing Neg, but we will see as the season goes on. Interesting that all of you said Tier 0 as the team to beat, but none of Tier 0 are on this power rankings. That shows they must all have pretty consistent stats, all slightly positive maybe. But yeah. Okay, I think we're towards the end of the show where we're going to wrap things up, but I just want to give everyone a chance to say any final comments and say anything about their prep for playoffs. So I'm going to start with you, Herbel. Any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you for being here, and I don't really have any thoughts because I was not testing yet at all for the playoffs.
Okay. Well, you better get started soon. Maggie?
Hey man, I'm excited for the playoffs and keep sleeping on Smoke on Duel Links.
That's fighter talk, all right. And MasterCards.
Just thank you for everything, and we will do the best to win this season. And my final word is Yasser is a big gay, and a big pleb.
But
Wow. Yasser, are you going to take that sitting down? Is Yasser even in the chat? I've not seen him today, so I think you might be kicking a man when he's not looking. But we will see. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming out and watching this slightly short stream. But yeah, very excited for the playoffs. I'll hopefully be casting a couple of them. But good luck to all the teams involved. Thanks everyone for being with me today, and I'm sure we'll all speak again. But goodbye for now.